how I don't even want to call it the left, because the left has there's plenty of people who are on the political left that are completely sane. I want to show you how the deranged, crazy left, the temper tantrum throwing left, the left that can't stand any political debate, the ones that insist that if you don't completely agree with them, then you're some sort of a terrorist. I want to show you how they engage in political discourse, for lack of a better word, because I want you to be able to recognize it, and I want you to be able to protect yourself from it. I want you to make sure that these type of antics don't affect the way that you conduct political discourse and the way that you conduct your lives, and I don't want you to feel pressured into changing your views. So let's start off with this. This starts with a post from earlier today where I wrote the following. In Munchausen's by Proxy, parents intentionally make their children sick in order to get positive social attention. They want people to say, look at that great, caring parent. And Munchausen by proxy is it's a psychological illness. It affects parents and other caregivers. Primarily affects women, but it also affects men. And in this disease, parents want that social attention of being this great caregiver to a sick child. So they do one of two things. They either make up the symptoms, or they actually make their children physically sick. They'll literally, essentially poison their own children because they so badly want that social approval. So then the ending of this post is also some parents are claiming that their 5-year-olds are trans. Now, depending on where you live, if you have a 5-year-old child that's trans, you're going to get a lot of positive feedback, or at least you're going to get a lot of social attention of the kind that you want. Now, you might be somebody that thrives on negative social attention. You might be somebody who thrives on people saying, look what a great parent, what an open-minded parent, what a progressive parent. This person's such a wonderful person. Look, he or she is accepting that their 5-year-old child is trans. Now, a 5-year-old child can't be trans. A 5-year-old child is kind of not really, it's sort of agender at that point, not really a gendered being in any sense. So the idea that they could be so deeply aware of their own gender and able to express that they have a different gender, I mean, that idea is just ludicrous. I mean, if anybody who works in education, you get a sense of what the range of possible thought is for somebody of a different age. At age 5, you don't have formal operations. In other words, abstract logic. You don't even have pre-formal operations. A 5-year-old, I mean, I don't want to say this too crudely, but like, they can't think at that age. They're really just barely scratching the surface, and gender is so nuanced and so complex that a 5-year-old could not possibly be anything, be trans. I mean, the idea is ridiculous. So, but I want to show you, I'm not trying to convince you that 5-year-olds can't be trans. I mean, if you don't already think that, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to change your mind on that. But I want to show you the style of discourse that the lunatic left, and again, I'm not saying the entire left is insane. There's plenty of Democrats, plenty of progressives that are perfectly rational people. I'm talking about the people who are literally so crazy they cannot tolerate any disagreement. They view any disagreement as a threat to their physical safety. You heard that right. If you don't agree with their political views, no matter how crazy those views are, and believing that a 5-year-old can be trans, that's a crazy political view. If you don't agree with their views, they believe that you are a physical danger to them. Disagreeing is a physical danger in their mind. Now, I'm going to read to you, I'm not going to include any names, but I mean, this is a public post, so feel free to look up whatever you want. Here's what somebody responds. Thank you for letting me know that you are an absolutely unsafe person to dance with. The person has said that because I don't think that a 5-year-old can be trans, and I don't think a 5-year-old can be trans, that you are an absolutely unsafe person to dance with. So let's see if we can unpack that a little bit. What would that look like? So assuming that this person believes that it's necessary for her to be able to declare that her child is trans, presumably while dancing, what would somebody do? Oh, by the way, the particular type of dance that this is about, I think, is swing dance. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't totally recognize the name, but let's just say it's swing dance because that's what it's most likely to be. We're talking about like not a very physically close dance. We're talking about like swing dancing. It's a I don't know. It's just like not a dance where you're really that close to somebody. It's not like, we're not talking about like, bump and grind club dancing, all right? So in her view, there's something that I could do on the dance floor that would make it difficult to impossible for her to declare her child to be trans. Now, I don't know what that could possibly be. I don't know how you could make somebody not say that their child is trans. If somebody's going to say their child is trans, you could say, I don't agree. Even what else are you going to do about that, right? And I don't know what, and swing dance songs, by the way, they're 2-3 minutes long. I don't know what you could possibly do in a 3-minute song in a brightly lit room that would prevent somebody, or even if the room was dimly lit, I don't know what you could do to stop somebody from declaring that their child is trans. Now, I could be misreading it. Maybe there's a different type of safety fear. What that could be, I can't begin to guess. Maybe the safety fear has something to do with maybe the person wants to declare that she herself is trans. Now, again, it's not a 5-year-old. This is an adult. So the post is not really relevant to this. The point that I'm trying to make is there's 2 parts. First, you see that somebody's acting out of just an extreme level of fear. And that's normal. Most people are afraid all the time. Somebody acting out of an extreme level of fear, that's natural. But that fear is then turned around, as fear usually is, into a form of this protective coercion. In other words, saying, you must agree with me, or I'm going to try to attack you, not politically, but attack you in a social type setting that has nothing to do with politics. Now, this has become unfortunately, a very common technique of the lunatic left, where basically if you don't agree with them politically, they're going to attack you in non-political ways. They're going to email your employer. They're going to, they'll email, some of our ads on Reddit have been targeted where people who believe that a 5-year-old can be trans are, trying to brigade our ads or put negative reviews on books that have nothing to do with the topic at hand. That type of stuff is showing their desperation. When your logical arguments fail, the next step is some type of censorship. That can be social censorship, it can be some sort of economic pressure, it can be whatever. And what we need to do as sane and rational people, and again, this is not a left-right thing. I believe that most Democrats also don't think a 5-year-old can be trans because a 5-year-old can't possibly be trans. It's ridiculous to even consider. So most Democrats, most Republicans, most independents, most libertarians, most everybody knows that a 5-year-old could not possibly be trans. That to declare somebody's gender before puberty is just absurd. Puberty is the most gender-defining process in a person's life. Anything that stops puberty from doing what it does, which is to define gender, both physically and mentally. During puberty, your secondary sexual characteristics kick in. That's facial hair for men. That's chest enlargement for women. It changes in your physical body in all these different ways. That's what creates gender. Gender is not created when you're 5. Not really. Not adult gender. A 5-year-old does not have an adult gender. They don't have an adult sexuality. They don't have any of those things. They have the ability to parrot back what adults around them say. They can mimic their parents' words. They can mimic their teachers' words. But they're not completely gendered beings in the way that adults are. So most people don't agree with that, but the thing is, most people have been terrified into silence because they don't want to be socially attacked, don't want to be economically attacked, whatever. Now here's the thing, as somebody that's been socially attacked, it's just not that big a deal. It just literally doesn't make any difference. Because I don't believe that 5-year-olds can be trans, I've been banned from a few social events. All right, so what? There's 5 million other gazillion social events that I could use if I wanted to. Because I don't believe that a 5-year-old can be trans, people have gone and put reviews on books that have nothing to do with gender. I'm not talking about Pull Out, Men, Modern Life, and Mutiny, which actually talks about gender. I'm talking about books that have nothing to do with it. Again, trying their best to attack my livelihood. The fact is, my personal livelihood reaches out to educated people. Not to put too fine a point on it, but my clients are the highest educated of the top 0.5%, they're not going to be tricked by this kind of idiocy. But, people, of course, are welcome to try. So here's what the takeaways are from this. People are going to try to use non-political methods to change your political views. Don't let them. If you want to learn more about my political views, check out my book, Pull Out: Men, Modern Life, and Mutiny, available at Amazon and everywhere else that books are sold.